know this sounds crazy, but ever since yesterday, on the road, I've been seeing this shape. Shaving cream, pillows. Damn it, I know this. I know what this is. This means something. This is important.
Here are the patterns. We just received two 15-minute broadcasts.
Are these non-random signals?
104 rapid pulses. After a 5-second interval, 40 pulses. Another 5-second break and 30 pulses. 60 seconds of silence and then an entirely new set of numbers. 40, break 5, 36, break 5, 10. 104 rapid pulses. Lord. Wait 60 seconds and the whole doggone thing repeats.
Where are these signals coming from?
Right in the neighborhood. Light travel time roughly 7 seconds. It's well within the plane of the eclipse.
Are these non-random signals here? 40, 36, 10? In response to that?
No, they should be. We've been sending out this musical combination for weeks, but all we're getting back are numbers.
This could mean the India sounds reached a dead end. They don't mean a thing.
There's still so much that we don't know.
How about where the signals originated?
Excuse me. What letter is 104?
Excuse me. Before I got paid to speak French, I used to read maps. This first number is a longitude. Yeah. 2 sets of 3 numbers. Degrees, minutes, and seconds. Now, the first number has 3 digits, and the last 2 were below 60. Obviously, it's not in right ascension and declination on the sky. These have to be Earth coordinates.
Surely somebody has a
There's a globe in the county supervisor's office.
What we need.
Maybe there's a release pin on it.
That's a $2,500 globe. What are you guys doing?
Oh, you get them.
The antenna, how dumb, huh? Well, which way is the antenna pointing? Northeast, probably. Which way is it?
All right. We're going to need a geodetic survey map of Wyoming. I want this down to the square yard.
Give me a geodetic survey map.
You've never seen before. You can look all over this YouTube or wherever and you're not going to see this. I posted this billboard up in 1996, August 22nd, 1996. It went up. It was completed on August 23rd, 1996. After a vision that I had on August 11th, 1995, which from that vision I had the world in the opposite direction. That's what came to me. The words, it's upside down. The pyramids were made as a compass in case I should ever get lost. Now this came to me as far as after going to the Million Man March on October 16, 1995. The word or the numbers 1555 came to me in July 29, 1996. And I knew the message had to go up on a billboard on 441. Familiar with Orlando, this is 441. This went over at Checkers all these restaurants here. This 39th Street. Everything here is changed. This is 1996. The only thing left that you can look in the view of this is this Checkers here, where the sign sat, and then the Melody Motel here behind it. Those are the only two things that are still the same along that street. Even they were showing back then when the street was being redone and they were putting up the green light post. Now, as you see, it sits over at Checkers on 441. So the 1555 to 1996 came to 441. This is where Orange Blossom Trail is 441. Now you see how the world is in the opposite direction. That kingdom come. Just words. Didn't put a phone number on it. Didn't look for anybody to contact me with it. It was just a message that had to go up. So once I put this message up, it was after this, a month later, when I saw the houses as Orion. And then after that, I saw the way the billboards, the gold-faced billboards, created the same triangle position, even at the north, which I'll show you. So this billboard stayed up from August 22nd to March 12th, to March 12th, 1997, when it came down. The same day I saw the Orion Court, which is around the corner from where my mother stayed. Now I knew that this was a real message, or else I would not have put it up. I wouldn't have wasted $3,000, $4,000 to do this. Like I said, I wasn't looking for anybody to contact me. It just had to be up for people to see it. So when I come back and show it again. One thing from what I'm saying right now, if you look right here and you go from 39th Street all the way through west on 39th Street to John Young Parkway, you have the Vision Street, which Vision itself is at the 33rd Street jailhouse, which 33rd Street stands for the 33rd degree Masons, Masonic, Freemason. I was not a part of that at any time when I did this. Still not. Had nothing to do with none of the Illuminati stuff. None of that stuff was even crossed my mind when this happened. This was all fresh. But I know where it came from, because Checkers here, if you look up Checkers, Checkers was a game played in ancient Egypt. At this point here, there was no coincidence at that, showing that this was placed right over at Checkers on 39th, which 39 is a significant number, was 313. So you have a Checkers, 39th Street, with a billboard showing you a pyramid. Three things in one spot. Could not have made it up. So I'm going from here to show you the real close encounters. It came from this sign here. This is what I had drawn up from a map I was taking from a travel agency course, trying to learn how to do tours, because I wanted to go to Africa and go to do the slave dungeons. And then we were given a map, and it was at this point when I had the map and bought a globe where it came to me, and then this is what I had the vision about by looking at the globe, and I just drew this after that. And I used to carry this map with me and show people until a whole year later when I knew that it had to go up on 441. So this is what happened here. This says in the movie, the man says he used to read maps. Here's a map. The map was just a map until I put it up. This was back in 1995, August 11th, 1995, when this started. But the world was in the opposite direction. No matter how it looked, people say it's upside down. Well, it was upside down until that morning when I woke up and I knew that this was the reverse. And the fact that it still made sense to me because it stayed with me. Just like you would have a business idea or some type of idea to go do something and it just stays with you. This is what it did. Just like the man in the movie, you kept seeing this vision about this mountain. He kept putting all this stuff together, even to the point of losing his family. He did it. Well, this stayed with me until, like I said, a year later when I spent the money to put it up on a billboard without just having anything to say or anything trying to get anybody to contact me or anything like that, looking for anybody to recruit or anything like that or give a message to. It just there. I had to put it up on 441. That's all I had to do. Now, when you look at here, you see this here is going forth by day, the book of going forth by day. This here is going back to the Book of the Dead, which I'll show you here. All that's what it says here. Or you cause the perfect soul to draw near the house of Osiris. And you cause the excellent soul of Anai to draw near with you to the house of Osiris, which the house of Osiris is the pyramid layout I just showed you. Now it says, O you who give bread and beer to the perfect soul, perfected souls in the house of Osiris. Now I'll show you the beer. You see what it says, the beer. Now, on this level here, we're going to see that these signs created the layout in Orlando. And the layout in Orlando, in these locations, Busch Gardens, Gold Face, the Gold Face of Osiris. Even though people say Tut, Tut only means the. That means the tomb awaits. Come explore Egypt. I went to Egypt. I explored it. This is in the end of the Osiris Rex that NASA has up. The REX. The REX. Rex means king. The EX on the acronym means explore. NASA has a craft called Orion and one called Osiris. Both are the same. This is after what I'm showing you, even though they had an Orion back in the 1960s with John Young. But here again, the map created in Orlando, a layout, a triangle that I can show you that is connected to the map. As he said, this is the geographical coordinates. Now I'll go here.
That we're all God's children, wherever we may live in the world. I couldn't help but say to him, just think how easy his task and mine might be in these meetings that we held if suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe. We'd forget all the little local differences that we have between our countries, and we would find out once and for all that we really are all human beings here on this earth together.
Now, that's what he said back in 1987. One of the things he said that he repeated. This is Ronald Reagan, President Reagan. As I said before, I talked about Orion, the houses, the billboard that was put up. Now I'll show you. This here is a layout showing you the same billboard when I added the words on. The same words, I just added Orlando is the promised land. There's still the 1555, seek the light from Orion. My birth date on here. This is the sign that I had that was on a billboard on 441. Now the overlay of it is on Orlando. Now I can show you that this sign itself sat in a position that is over the same layout as the pyramid layout I said was in Orlando. Because here is, again, there's the billboard, and this is the billboard itself that I added on the words, and in Orlando. For instance, when I look up the Universal Studios with the Mummy, Revenge of the Mummy, here you got I Am Osiris on your dollar. Then I get 10/16/1995. Again, I said it was a Million Man March where I got the number 1555 from. Talking about the Washington Monument, which I have that too. But here you go, you see here, Florida Turnpike. Florida Turnpike in 1998 was turned into the Ronald Reagan Turnpike. So here you have Ronald Reagan going through Turnpike, going through the layout of the billboard, that when I laid it on the top of the position of those three pyramids that were, or the three billboards, the gold face of Osiris, they created that. Going back to the words in the coming forth by day, coming forth by night. Right here in Orlando. Bread and beer. So let's go a little further because of the fact that when you look up Revenge of the Mummy, Universal, you'll see that it's on the same side as the I Am Osiris on your dollar. You see it. See it on the same side as it. Okay? Now, this wasn't there back in 1996, 1997. This came out in 2004. 2004 it came out. So, as I said before, this had to do with the fact that, again, here it says Orlando is the promised land. So here's a map that I'm laying on top of Orlando using Google Map that didn't exist back in 1996 to 1999, 2000. And I sure couldn't have used it for when I show you where I'm at. But this here, the map itself, came true. It became Orlando. The end of the world. Disney World, Universal, the end of this world. 1996, over. Just as it sat over checkers, dealing with reincarnation. Now you see how this star here, Let My People Go, Orlando's the promised land. Now let me show you something else. Using the same map. Without moving it. See the Holy Land Experience on the same side. Holy Land Experience, Let My People Go. You see the star on the same map without having to move in the map. Same map. Showing you this is what it is. So they said a map, coordinates. Again, this map here going back to the time of when I had it up and going to Egypt and seeing for myself. Two beings when I was a child came to my room. And they used to come to my room on Saturday mornings. If I said a prayer, they would come to my room because of a dream I had, which I explained before. I put this sign here on a YouTube itself back in 2009 and 2010, which didn't have any of this right here. I just showed the map and then the layout of the dollar over Orlando, which I can do also. Literally. So this map here itself manifested itself, even with the words Orlando, showing you the Holy Land Experience that didn't exist back in 1996. How could somebody do that? How could somebody take a sign that was posted in 1996, put the words on it before 1997, and then come back in 2015, 16, lay that same map across Orlando and show you the same thing under the map. Using the same position as the pyramid, as the billboards showing you the bush garden, gold face of Osiris. Then showing you beer and bread coming forth by day, coming forth by night. What is this? How can somebody do that? The magic. Magic Kingdom. Here it is right here. Then show you Florida Turnpike. Listen to the words of Ronald Reagan, the alien. There's no alien. It's the end. You can't fight that. It was over back in 1996. This is where I was at. Again, if you looked at any of what I had, this is where I was at. Going straight from here. Straight line. Right here. This is where I was at. After telling them about the layout of Orlando. How did they get there? You had to go up Ronald Reagan. It was Ronald Reagan I got here in 1998. Same year that they renamed Ronald Reagan itself. Ronald Reagan Turnpike from Florida Turnpike, 1998. Then you see here, the buildings. I was here. In a pyramid shape, the same way it showed you the layout of Orlando. Both of them. This is the shaft coming out of the Great Pyramid under the layout of the same pyramid, pointing in this direction. Exactly where I had to come through the gate to come here. From 1998, June 1998 to 2003, I'm here. Then I go here. Then you have the same layout, the buildings connected as a stealth bomber. This is the layout of a stealth bomber, these are the buildings. Same as the stealth bomber they used in Independence Day, 1996. After saying that back in the day, I didn't tell them the two beans. I didn't have to tell them that. I know that for myself. I just told them anyway about Orlando. They didn't want to hear it. They thought they'll put me here and that'll be the end of it. It was the end, but it wasn't my end. Again, who can ever show you that? Put up a billboard, then put Orlando on it. Put it away, go away, come here, come back, and then show you the billboard using Google Maps that didn't exist at the time because Google didn't exist. And Google itself comes from NASA. That's how it goes up in space through the satellite. Using the satellite, their satellite, to show you this. Now, go back to what he said again.
Well, I don't suppose we can wait for some alien race to come down and threaten us, but I think that between us, we can bring about that realization. In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common...
Said universal threat. Universal. Revenge of the Mummy. I just showed you. It's the end. You brought it on yourself. Ships are here.
Bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war? I think maybe I'd answer it this way. I keep, in my frustration sometimes, you know, actually, if you count some of the things going on in smaller countries and all, there have been about 114 wars since World War II. But I've often wondered, what if all of us in the world discovered that we were threatened
That was the war.
by a power from outer space,
Power from outer
another
space.
planet?
The drug
Wouldn't we
war.
all of a sudden find that we didn't
Here we
have
go.
any differences between us at
Florida
all?
Turnpike.
We were
Ronald
all
Reagan
human
Turnpike.
beings, citizens of the world, and wouldn't we come together to fight that particular threat?
Don't have a chance. Never had a chance. This is dimensional, transdimensional, multidimensional. You saw the billboard. You saw the layout. You saw what I put up before then, how it came to be. You saw it over Checkers. You saw the 39th Street. They took me to 33rd Street. They put me here. When I told them, but this is reverse. This wasn't my end, this was their end. This is 2016, this was 1998. I'm still standing here telling you the same thing, right inside the brain of John Young, the astronaut, Orion. I'm not a little gray man with big black eyes. I look like somebody you've been despising for the last 400 years. Perfect disguise. Someone you look down on. Perfect disguise. Someone you look at and says, they don't matter. Perfect disguise. Someone who's been here all these years. But you look through them. Perfect disguise. Someone you'd rather see hanging from a rope, put in jail, sweeping your streets, begging on a corner. Perfect disguise. Someone you thought very little of, who never had nothing, who was your real estate. The first real estate in this country was not only land, but it was African slaves. Perfect disguise. But going from a real estate to showing you a Stargate. Hard to comprehend, huh? Isn't that? Cannot be. I just showed you. Nobody else can do that. People talk about it. They can say they heard this and heard that about this on TV, or somebody put this on the internet, or this. No, you could stare at this all day, and this is what it is. It ain't changed it. Going back to the beginning. See Adamsville? Going back to your beginning. Thy kingdom come, that will be done on earth as it is in heaven. What did it show you? That kingdom come. Kingdom come. This is all kingdom of the sun. 10,000 years before the white man came here. It's no alien. here before you were ever here. I'll show you. I'll show you perfectly how this happened. That there's no alien. You're the alien. Now we see it's Gatlin Avenue. Now let's get down to it. I said 1996, 1997. Here we go here. 1997, same year that the movie was being made, or the time after the fact that they were beginning to make the movie, because it came from my sign here. This face sits where Orlando originated, a place called Fort Gatlin, where they fought the Seminoles, which was basically a slave catching expedition, because black people came south. That's where the freedom was at. It wasn't the north, it was the south. The Spanish took over. When they had it, black people went south. This was a threat to the slave owners. This is why Orlando is named Orlando, because in 1857, when you had the Dred Scott case in March 7, 1857, they said that black people can never be a citizen of the United States. Still real estate, property, inherited, transferred, gifted, willed, leaned on, like property. Can never be a citizen. That was the Constitution or the Supreme Court decision. Celebrated by renaming Orlando, Jernigan's Orlando, in September 1857. People say they don't know who Orlando was, so we know daggone well who Orlando was, because you renamed him Orlando in 6 months after that decision, knowing he was a slave owner coming in search of a slave, because the slave catching was the United States responsibility under the Fugitive Slave Act. So this is basically representing the Fugitive Slave Act. And this lake here, these 3 lakes here, were where Fort Gatlin was established. And you might want to say, well, I don't see no 3 lakes. You see them now. You see them now, don't you? You see those 3 faces? You see that face? Who's the alien? You see that face? They closed it back in 1997. There was a Navy research, deep water research lab right there. Here. This was since established back in the 1800s, where Orlando first came about, where the white man settled, fighting the Native Americans and the black people that were here, trying to be free, as they should have been. Then giving out land. This is why Orlando became, the area became cattle herders. People became cattle ranchers after the war was over. T.G. Lee and all these places that developed because of this. because they were trying to keep as many people here, white people here, to run off whatever the Native Americans were still here, who had been living here for thousands of years, which the Seminoles had basically migrated here, but the other Native Americans who had been here were killed off by disease and ran off. No alien. Children of the Sun. Showing you here, 1997. It's here. You see it. Fort Gatlin, 1838. Showing you here. It's all here. Just read the sign. Even hit point where it closed in 1997. The same year I was on my way to Coleman. So I'm telling you again, we've been here before you even existed. You have to just realize that, whether you want to or not. This is why Florida, the Mall of Millennia, is the White House. It's Pharaoh. Same thing. Showing you here. That's my face. No alien. You see how long it's been here? You see what time it is? Now I go up here and show you this. Straight under the same road. Here's George Washington. What makes sense of that? George Washington, you have the front of the dollar bill. As I said, the back of the dollar bill, also the Orlando. But here you have George Washington himself, where they took me to the federal courthouse, where I said in 1997, that's where they took me. Tell you to show you where it closed. Federal Street. Colonial Drive, which is Highway 50. Highway 50, 50 states. Then you have Washington Street. Of course, Washington stands for George Washington, obviously. You have Livingston. Robert Livingston is the one that inaugurated George Washington. And you also have Wall Street, where the first White House, or where the presidents first sat. Wall Street in New York. Which you go to Wall Street here, it represents the Wall Street in New York, or it basically they're symbolic of Wall Street. Then you have Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon was where his plantation was at. Of course, you got Virginia. Virginia is also related to, connected to George Washington. Virginia Drive. So I just said it has to deal with George Washington, the soul of the United States. The soul of the United States. I just showed you where Orlando began, how Orlando began, showing you the connection between the Seminole War, which had to deal with the trying to get black people and re-enslave them. That didn't matter to you. That didn't seem like that's important enough to you. Nobody cared about those people. Nobody would say nothing about them. Sure enough, they preached and they cried and they came up and said all kinds of things about praying to this and praying to that. Nobody ever came for them. You see what's happened now? Even today, you hear these people talking about taking back America, making America great again. When was it ever great? He weeps right now. He weeps because his judgment is on your hands. That's why I showed you that. Coming forth by day. You got your book, I got mine. I can show you my book. I can show you what it is. In real time. Washington, D.C. Showing you here. All together. The Federal Reserve note. Never backed by gold anymore. Why? Because gold is pure. Gold goes to the soul. Forbidden. Now you have monopoly money. Backed by your belief. As long as you believe it, as long as it can circulate around the world, it's okay. But the minute it stops, it's Humpty Dumpty. You can never put it back together again. So you have to keep believing in it. It says 1. Here we go. All together. Straight over the same layout. This is the dollar bill. The pyramid, the airport right here. We call it Air Force Base until 1974. Makes the eagle on the dollar. That deals with the Defense Department, the Great Seal. The all-seeing eye is with I-4. 4 eyes on a dollar. 1 eye in the pyramid, 1 eye the eagle, 2 eyes on George Washington, I-4. Still, haven't moved anywhere, straight back and forth. Nassau, directly to my right, 40 miles. This is the real deal. The end of the world. Judgment Day.